Yeah.
Hey, welcome to Empowering Innovators, and thanks for joining us today. Today we have with us Rob van Heuvel, who's the CEO and co-founder of Sendcloud, one of the fastest growing scale-ups, I should say, by now in Europe in e-commerce. Rob, Sabi, and Bas, who are the three co-founders, participated in the 2014 Startupbootcamp program in Amsterdam and have been having quite a ride ever since. And I've asked Rob a few weeks ago if he would join me on this conversation in order to share some of his experiences that he had in the last, well, you started actually in 2012, so it's now over 8 years
Awesome.
in growing the company, what it has meant for him personally and his co-founders, but also related to how do you scale a company and how do you scale, let's say, the team and the resources that you need to grow the company faster. Rob, welcome. Maybe short introduction from yourself. Where are you now based? What is Sendcloud like today? Maybe just a short 1-2 minute pitch from your side.
Yeah. So I'm so Rob, I'm calling you from our office in Eindhoven, actually, which is still our HQ. We also have an office in Munich. We have several people working for us globally remote. So Sendcloud, basically, I had an online store. At one point, realized that shipping was a really shitty task. Many times I need to manually enter order data. Our pricing was quite crappy. Returns were shitty. So basically, the entire store was automated, but shipping was a problem. Then at one point, we were thinking, hey, let's resolve this. And then let's try Google some kind of tool. Didn't find it. So then we started Sendcloud. So Sendcloud basically is an end-to-end solution for your online store's logistics. Right, so we manage the entire software around your logistics for an online store, which is, of course, an e-commerce play, which is a very good place to be in these weird times. Currently, with 170 people, 27 people are joining us the 2nd of June. So just to give you a little bit of an insight in our growth. What else? Yeah, currently active from 7 countries, shipping globally. So Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, France, Austria, Spain, Italy. Entering the UK market later this year, and then the US. Just a super nutshell intro.
Yeah. Can you share something a little bit about the amount of revenue that goes over your platform currently a month and what you expect to be going through the Sendcloud platform in 2020 and how that relates to 2019 without giving too much details maybe, but just a high level?
Yeah, it's more than, we usually talk about the amount of shipments, right, going through our platform. I think in the last year we did around 40 million shipments, and we're looking at more than doubling it for this year. So it's going to be 80 to 100 million shipments. Currently, I think we're per day processing around 250 to 300,000 shipments. So that's quite nice.
And that's quite an operation to run, right?
Yeah, it's insane. It's quite heavy, especially like COVID caused us to jump 80% in 1 month, right? And that puts, of course, some huge pressure on your operational team as well. Right. Even when they're working from remotely then full time. So yeah.
Yeah. Hey, if we can go back to the early days, 2012, 2015, how has your role and that one of Sabi and Bas, your co-founders, what was your role like in those days when you were a small team? And then later on, we're going to go to what your role is today and how different that it is. But if we go back to 2013, 14, when you were just about to start and scaling up already a little bit, can you explain how your role was then compared to how it is now?
Yeah, so when we were just starting up, we were 3 friends, right? So I know Bas already for 15 years. I went to high school with him, and Sabi I know from T-Mobile. He did sales. Was my side job at the time. So our jobs back then were just doing everything from support to sales to, except for development, right? So I managed the product a little bit, but I didn't do the development. So we had developers in-house already back then. So it was really operational. So phoning customers, talking to them, helping them, setting it up, connecting stores, all kinds of operational work. And I think slowly it evolved away from being totally away from the operation and managing teams. First managing teams directly, and then managing team leaders that manage the teams, and then manage the team leaders of the team leaders. So that it changed a lot, but it's still enjoyable.
But what I see with many founders, and I experienced this myself quite a few times, and I think you're seeing this too, is that eventually as a founder, you're being squeezed maybe in a role that is very different from the reason that you actually started your company. When you were still extremely entrepreneurial, you were doing customer development, you were doing many things yourself. Well, now you're basically, can you still be the entrepreneur, or are you leaning more, are you spending 80% of your time on managing the team, or are you still working on growing the business, looking at new innovations? How do you divide your time, and is that a struggle or not? Or
yeah, I think the struggle is time management is always a struggle, right? So where do you dedicate your time? But I still feel like an entrepreneur, right? So I think I have a very good mid-management layer who takes away a lot of the managing, and I'm still doing sometimes a huge deal, right? I'm still operationally involved sometimes. I tend to be the risk that I have is like when I hear something on let's say on the sales floor, I tend to jump in, right? And then it's very hard to jump out again. So I try to stay away from the operational work, but I still feel like an entrepreneur, not like a manager or something. I don't feel like that at all.
No, but if you go to that topic, right? I mean, I think many entrepreneurs feel this, that on one hand, you have to give the team the responsibility to take things forward. On the other hand, you also have a meaning. Yeah? You have, an objective that you want to reach, or you have a vision of where things go, and they not always go in the direction where you want them to go. How do you deal with that balancing, maybe staying away a little bit from the business, so you're not too much, you don't hear too much, but you still want to hear in which direction that they're going? How are you dealing with that?
Yeah, so with the top management, I have it's very simple, a weekly meeting, which is very structured, right? So with everybody, I have the same kind of meeting. So I know what the large projects are. I know what they are involved with. So how do I deal with that? Yeah, to be honest, right? We just have like a yearly. We have like a BHAG, you can say, right? I think you guys know it, big hairy audacious goal. And then we have 3-year goal, a 1-year goal, and quarterly goals. We basically build towards the BHAG. And I think the management team together is we are very synced in what we want to achieve. So I don't see that. I think part of my role is that everybody is running in the same direction, and that you don't get sales going left, marketing going right, and then fighting in the middle. I don't see that. Yeah.
So you have a clear structure in place where, the 3 co-founders have divided, the tasks and the roles. You have your long-term vision, and you're counting backwards per quarter in order to achieve those.
Yeah, so very structured. And then, for example, even some departments are doing bi-weekly sprints working towards those quarterly goals, right? So to make it as small as possible.
Yeah. Hey, I do remember a few years ago that we had some conversations when you were not only scaling up locally, but also internationally. And you were hiring people in France, you were hiring people in Germany. And, I still remember that you were quite enthusiastic at the beginning of who you hired. And then a few months later, we talked and you said, well, it was actually not the right person. What can you explain some of the things that you learned in that process of hiring senior management and giving them the responsibility, and maybe some mishires that we all have?
Yeah, so of course we mishired a lot, but that's the way you learn. So let's start with an example. I think Germany, we heard from everybody who went to Germany, right? You need a country manager who manages the country. And we are like, okay, yeah, who are we to judge this, right? So let's hire a country manager. Did that, hired a German with credentials, came from Rocket Internet, smart personal accounts. 2 months later, it just didn't work out. But then again, it didn't work out because we hired him, we didn't support it, the product wasn't ready. So that's all the other stuff that comes with that. But then again, we hired another country manager for Germany and another one. And in the end, the result just was that there is no role country manager, right? So what does a country manager do? He should manage maybe sales, customer success, and marketing in a local office. And what you see is that actually became a bottleneck towards the people actually doing the sales, actually doing this customer success and the marketing. So a country manager was a non-existent role we were hiring for. It's also a failure on our end. And then we also hired the wrong people. Yeah,
So,
and that's just, I have many of these.
yeah, no, but I think that's a great example. You look at other companies, how they're structured.
Yeah.
So you think, hey, we also need somebody locally on the ground that knows the culture, has the network. But then you found out this is actually a bottleneck in us growing. So how did you eventually resolve this? Are you doing this now centrally from the Netherlands, or how are you organized now then from a sales perspective?
Yeah, if you look at our sales perspective, we have all of our markets except for Germany are centralized. Germany is decentralized. In Munich, there are now 35, I think, people in Germany, maybe 40 in the meantime. So how do you resolve that? So we kind of cut out the country manager, and we decided that, for example, if you're leading a sales team, you're a head of sales, right? And then you can recruit for that. You have deep experience in sales. If you want a local head of marketing, you recruit a head of marketing who has deep experience in marketing. And head of marketing, head of sales, and head of customer success, they become like a localized management team. So that's how we run Germany. And the rest
and they report to who? To you or to staff?
They report to, for example, VP sales, who leads our sales teams.
Okay, yeah.
And the VP customer success.
Yeah.
And they centralize everything. Yeah. So that's how it currently works. And all of our other markets we do from Eindhoven. Why did we do that? Because if there's smaller markets, if you need to put in place every time a few heads, your organization becomes layered quite quickly.
Yeah.
So we decided, let's not try and do that. So if we start up a new market, we do it from our head office. So we recruit natives and incubate markets from here, basically.
And they relocate to the Netherlands, or do you find native speakers already that live in the Netherlands that just have a French background or a Spanish background, or
both? I think in 60% of the cases they relocate. So it's 40% they're already near. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go to that hiring process, because this is one of the topics that we dive a bit deeper in today. And when we met, I think it was 6-7 months before Corona. You explained quite in depth your hiring principles and the process that you have developed, which is quite extensive, I must say. It's written down, I think, in 8-9 pages, step by step. Can you explain, maybe starting with the hiring principles and the process that you use at Sendcloud to bring new people on board, or at least starting from the recruitment point of view, because you're now hiring 20 to 30 people each month, I heard. So you need to have a process for that. Can you explain where you started and when you found out, hey, we actually need a process for this if we're going to hire at this scale?
Yeah, I think even before that, right? Way before that, you need a strict hiring process. Look, it starts, I think, with the basic assumption that, look, the most important asset in your company are your people, your team. It's a total cliche, but it is actually true. And your front door is the hiring process, right? So why are companies not being strict at the front door? Yeah. Look, we had a lot of experience with mishires, so we thought, hey, what is the most expensive thing that can happen? Is a mishire, or not hiring anybody. But just to resume, we have dedicated recruiters currently. We have 3, a 4th is starting into the 2nd of June. So we have 4 recruiters actively sourcing, right? So they're actually contacting people, but they also guide the inbound. So let's say we get 500-600, I don't know how many applicants per month, something like that. They manage the entire process. So the recruiter is responsible for the hiring process. Recruiters are incentivized as well in our company. So they get paid a bonus when they source a candidate, which is, I think, very good, because in many startups, I can see people are hiring a recruiter, and the recruiter just hires a recruiting agency to recruit I think this is so stupid, right? Why would you then hire a recruiter? But so that's where it starts, as the front door. The recruiters are very strict on culture. So we have core values, and the first call, right, they kind of gauge on the cultural match. They gauge on a few other things as well, but I think culture is something that's very ingrained in our recruitment process. So let's say you are through the first step with a recruiter, then you get the hiring manager, which is usually a head of marketing or a head of sales. They have a chat with you, culture, skill-wise. They test you in several ways. After that, we do a full test day. So what does that mean? You get to one of our offices for a full day. We send you an assignment a few days before. Then we can also see if their people come prepared or not, or what they do.
Yeah.
And then they can really taste also the company culture, see who you're going to work with. We can see actively people interacting, and we have many interviews planned on that day as well. So it becomes like a pressure cooker. It's like the final selection days of Startupbootcamp, Patrick, a little bit.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. You get a lot of feedback, a lot of input, a lot of opinions. Yeah. Plus, if the people then in the end get hired, there's immediately a broad base for them, right? So if they already talk to the CTO and to the head of marketing and to a recruiter, and everybody says thumbs up. These people have a broad base. That's in a super nutshell the basic recruitment process.
And if you talk about recruiters, does this mean that you have multiple recruiters in the company?
Yeah.
How many recruiters do you have?
Currently 3, a fourth is starting in a few days. Yeah.
And they're fixed on payroll, and on top of that, they get incentivized if the company hires. I guess not just for the funnel, right? Or how does it work?
No, they only get incentivized if they actually source somebody, right? So if it's inbound, they don't get incentivized.
Right.
Of course, they want to fill their jobs, right? Because I think we have 50 or 60 jobs open currently. So they're like, I'm so busy. Yeah. But we explicitly made them source, because that's where I think a lot of recruitment departments go wrong. So they only get paid if they do an outreach.
Right. Okay. And that works well currently for you.
Yeah. Works very well. I think that's the number one channel. The second most important channel of our hires is actually referrals. So it's people from Sendcloud referring other people. So we also incentivize that. So let's say somebody who can do sales. Yeah. There's also a bonus structure. So we have €1,000 gross if you refer somebody who gets hired.
Right. Hey, one of the hiring principles and in recruitment process is actually mentioned, I read, is that you're not looking for, let's say, the average Joe. You said you're looking for a good kind of crazy people. Yeah. What does this mean? A good kind of crazy person?
Yeah, a good kind of crazy person has a strong own personality, right? He is maybe a little bit outgoing, he's just unique. We're looking for the weird ones, I think. The weird, nice, crazy ones. I think that fits our culture really well. Sabi, Patrick, I think that's exactly what I mean.
He fits.
Yeah.
Well, I think you all three fit quite good to that, the good kind of crazy ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the interviews that you have with the candidates, you also ask not very regular questions, right? Can you give some questions that you ask and explain why you ask these questions? Yeah. What are you testing actually?
So there are several questions. Look, I ask different questions than Sabi. Sabi comes up with the greatest questions, but I mean, what are the questions? I think they're not so weird anymore as they were in the past. But we in the past used to ask, what if you have unlimited money? What would you do just to see what drives somebody? We ask some weird tell a joke. Sometimes just tell a joke, man. Huh? What? Yeah, that you get. Let's see if somebody, just to see how they respond and if they're like, if they're
snappy, yes,
yes or no. Yeah. What else? We mainly also ask what are people's, I think, ambitions and what they want to achieve in life, because I think having a job should be aligned with your own ambitions a little bit. So let's say you're recruiting a sales agent and he wants to be a head of sales in the coming 1.5 years. That is a possibility. Yeah. So we really create growth plans as well. And I think we're looking for people that are super smart. They want to grow, go to the next level. So there are many crazy questions, but we tend to ask the normal ones as well these days.
What is the average age currently in Sendcloud?
28, something like that. Yeah.
And what's the oldest person's age?
60-ish.
60 is. Yeah. And still fits very well to the culture of Sendcloud and has that crazy attitude and
Yeah. She's less crazy, but she fits the culture really well. Yeah. So
hey, there's a few questions coming into the chat. One of them is, how do you sync marketing, sales, product efforts in a specific country? Could be harder if sales is one big department over all countries. Sorry.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that actually, it makes sense, right? So how do you sync sales, marketing, support? I think, to be honest, the easiest way to sync is actually having everybody at the same office. So in every market of Sendcloud, the sales process is the same. And the marketing tools we used are the same because it's kind of centralized, right? So if you decentralize, right, that's for example, the German office, we used to have some struggles with that. But now, pre-COVID times, we just had people flying up and down. So management and also employees coming into the head office, us going to the German office, trying to keep that barrier, the contact very well.
And I think one of the emphasis that you have is not only on the recruitment and the selection, but it's a very extensive onboarding process. Can you share a bit on how the onboarding works? Because I think it already works 90 days. It starts working 90 days before I actually start my new job, right? Can you explain a little bit how the warm up goes to the first day that I come to the office, how I'm being onboarded then?
Yeah. So we have a tool set in place, which we have a fixed onboarding process for everybody. It's just company onboarding. Before that, we try to send you as much information as possible. We introduce you to your manager. We have calls before that people actually onboard, so what to expect. So we do quite a lot of stuff. And I think when you're here on the first day, you get a nice welcome package. I think more companies do that, right? But I mean, you get a welcome package, your laptop, everything is pre-installed, everything works, your email works. So don't figure that out on the first day, figure that out before. And then we have a structured company onboarding with product training. I give a strategy and vision presentation to everybody. So everybody who comes in knows where are we going, how does Sendcloud work.
And you bring people in then on the same day. So I guess you don't do this one-on-one, but you do this with a new group of hire. So you bring everybody in on the 2nd of June.
Yeah.
New batch. So, okay, you plan accordingly.
Yeah, we try to plan in a group because that's nice for the people joining as well. Yeah. So what you don't want is starting alone. No, you start with a group. You start with the class of June 2020, and there are 27 people. And what you see is that we also organize a breakfast for them after they also go out, right? So we try to organize that they go out all together. We have a meal with them, so that's called the founders dinner. So the 3 of us join, and then we have just an formal dinner somewhere in a restaurant once they're open. So we try to make it really a nice experience as well.
Can you suggest any tools that you use on the recruitment and on the onboarding side? Which are the tools that you're like super happy with that help you, scale up on the recruitment and on the onboarding side?
Yeah, so we use an ATS. It's called Greenhouse. It's an American company. We used Workable before, but this is way better. So we kind of integrated the recruiting and onboarding part in one tool. It's called Greenhouse. Works really well. LinkedIn recruiter seats. If you want to source candidates, they're necessary, cost a shitload, but LinkedIn needs to make money as well. What else do we use? A few other tools, like for example, Greenhouse places, let's say we create a job, it places them, of course, on 15 different job boards at once. It really helps us to scale and to manage the pipeline, also to do rejections and all kinds of other stuff. So Greenhouse, I would say, is a recommendation.
And you also use scorecards, I read. How does that work?
It's a feature, of course. So everybody who interviews also fills in a scorecard. And then you get to fill in definitely not, no, yes, or strong yes, if it can proceed. And per job, we interview on different things. So for example, if you're a junior sales, you have a different scorecard than a team lead for sales. So junior sales, we look at coachability, motivation, and all that kind of stuff. And senior sales, more or less experience, SaaS, software as a service selling. Does he know the market, e-commerce? So we look at different things per job.
And the scorecards are part of the toolkit in Greenhouse, right? Okay.
So I think every decent applicant system, right, has scorecards.
Right.
But not a whole lot of people use them. We didn't use them until we went over to Greenhouse as well. So we used to only fill in some comments, right? And then a yes or no.
Yeah, good. Hey, I'm looking at some of the questions that are coming in through the chat. Thanks for that, everybody. Is there a mistake that you keep on making while hiring?
I hope not. That would be stupid. I mean, you always make mishires, right? So there are 27 people joining. I think it would be bad or weird if all of them succeed. So I think you should just be also strict in the first probation time and after the first contract, right? Offboarding is just as important as onboarding and recruiting. Is there a mistake? Yeah, mishires you keep on making, of course.
What percentage of, let's say you hire a new group of 30 people, what percentage is for you acceptable that doesn't make first 3 months, 6 months, shorter maybe even?
I'd say first 3, I would say 5%.
5%.
Yeah, so we really try to be strict at the front door. So I rather not, so we really, keep the front doors closed.
Yeah.
I think 5% would be good. And I think if you look at, but it also depends, right? Is it company do we say goodbye to somebody, or do they leave themselves? So we also see sometimes that the job is not what they expected,
right?
Or it's too high pressure, or that they're like, I'm some people leave as well, right?
Yeah.
I think it's within, I think 10%, I think it's more realistic. Yeah.
Okay. And were there maybe mistakes in the past that you're not making anymore? If you now go back, let's say 3-4 years, if you were thinking, how could I be thinking at that moment that this was there no process, or what was it that you think was your biggest learning in hiring, which is crucial now for the company to grow further?
Yeah, I recommend everybody to do the test day. So one example is how we hired a very experienced German again. Just from, I flew into Berlin back then twice. I had a few drinks with him as well. So it was nice, right? Good chat, good vibe. First day he came at the office in the Netherlands for onboarding. I'm like, oh, shit, what have I done? Work environment was total mismatch. So I would say do a real test day. Give those people an assignment. Get them in your offices working. Just you see how they work. You see how they think. We've prevented so many, I would say, especially on the management level, so many wrong hires by actually getting them at the office.
Yeah.
Because especially in for example, the VP sales or something, right? If you're looking for a high level manager and you don't do that, they can talk really well. They will easily blow through 3 interviews or 4. But if you give them a test and an actual assignment, that you get to see what they actually do.
Can you give an example of an assignment that you would give to a salesperson? Because this is actually a question that we get from a lot of our startups and scale-ups. How do I know that salesperson will actually sell? And I always tell, salespeople are very good at selling themselves. Many of them actually don't sell. So what kind of test do you do to at least get a feeling if the person is actually capable in converting a lead into a sales?
Yeah. So that, again, depends on the level of a sales agent. But let's say you're looking for a junior. I'm not necessarily looking for a lot of experience. I'm looking for eagerness, coachability, winner's mentality. So it's more of a set of characteristics.
Yeah.
And you give them an assignment like, hey, there's 50 leads. How would you get the most out of these 50 leads, and how would you close some deals, right? And they get to talk to several, They get to talk to several sales agents currently working here, right? And you can see how quickly they pick up certain stuff.
Right.
Or if they give their own twist to it. If you look for more experienced sales, that's a tougher one.
Yeah.
Then I would maybe, depends, give them an assignment like, okay, so let's say you start here, this is your target. How are you going to reach your target in 90 days? So how are you going to structurally reach that? And then you get an assignment like, then you can see how they think.
Yeah.
Are they expecting inbound leads? Are they going to go outbound? Are they going to do cold calls? How are they going to do outreach? How is their process? Are they going to do a demo? And of course, they get to talk to our current sales agents. But from a senior, right, I expect some more.
No, more strategic thinking, basically, on the process and how they will actually acquire and bring on board new customers.
Yeah.
Hey, let's move a bit to personalities and profiles. When you joined Startupbootcamp, you made a Facet 5 test, which basically explains the personality of the founders. I know that recently you started talking to Michiel Kasteleins, who basically owns the license of Facet 5 here in the Netherlands and beyond.
Yeah.
At ASML, for example, everybody that is hired makes a Facet 5, which actually scores you on 5 domains. It's will and energy and affection and control and emotion. Do you also look at, let's say, the soft side and the personality side of the people that you bring on board? And how do you do this? Do you use a tool like Facet 5, or are you considering?
No, actually, facet, right? I think we're going to implement it. I don't know yet if we're going to do it with everybody or with the leaders or more senior people, but I mean, something we're considering. So how do we really check the soft skills? I think it's in our scorecards anyway, right? Sendcloud culture, core values are in there. Is there a match?
Yeah.
And by talking to, I think in the test day, talking to many people, you get a feeling anyway. I think it's very tough to put a number on it or So it's still I think a gut feeling thing, but then of many people.
Yeah.
Maybe I think something's interesting to add is I think really hiring here is a real company effort, right? So everybody's participating in hiring. If you're a new junior, you're still participating in hiring other juniors as well, right? Right. So
And that's part of your culture to give everybody also that responsibility and also, have them leverage their network, but also their brain capacity to bring new people on board and to check if they fit the culture. If you talk about culture, you talked about your values. Can you explain what the values are of the company and how they match with the culture and how you nurse that?
Yeah, so one of the values is no bullshit. It sounds
Which
hard.
Means?
It means the following, right? So we are open, we are transparent, we're honest. It's no bullshit. So no politics in the office, right? So no backstabbing. Just be open, be out there. It might be a little bit blunt sometimes, but rather that than the nasty backstabbing.
So how do you deal with that when that still occurs? Because you can say people no backstabbing, no politics, but they might not even understand that they might be doing some backstabbing or some politics. How do you give examples of things that you don't accept or? Yeah,
we do, but also like in some cases somebody has a problem, right? And they run up to me to say, I have a problem with person X. First thing I say, did you talk to this person? Why are you coming to me? And then look, first thing is I always send them back, right? And then 9 out of 10 times it gets fixed by not even touching it, just sending them back. But I mean, just how we enforce this stuff, right? So it's kind of out there in our office anyway. So it's on posters, it's everywhere. We also review for it, right? So after you get hired and onboarded, where it's again pushed inside your brain, the review process, right? So employee development. If you want to grow, you need to adhere to the company values. If you want to get a good performance, basically, it's a component. So we try to get it through the entire HR cycle, if you want to call it.
Yeah. And how do you avoid that being subjective?
That's tough. So it's something I think if you look at the leaders of the company, they should really adhere to it, be an example. If the leaders of a company are going to go in the wrong direction against the values, then you can forget it, because then you basically make a new set because you're screwed.
I agree with what you're saying. And we got a question from Masoud, which I know is based in New York. So he's still in quarantine, although he can go out now a little bit, I heard. He asked, as you're growing so fast, where do you get your inspiration and advisors from for your business, as well as for your personal journey? Do investors play a role here, or?
Yeah, if you look at investors, I do have some investors which I contact regularly. I think all of them, or at least the main ones, I have a monthly meeting with. But I really think my internal team, what I have here, is the main partner, I would say. So my co-founders, Bas and Sabi, and then again all the management layer which we've built. I don't have that much external advisors. I have a few. For example, one of the co-founders of Mendix, nice word.
Yeah.
It's a company sold to Siemens, 660 million, and they got $1 billion investment afterwards. Really cool. But I only talk to them whenever we really need it. It's not like on a monthly basis or something.
No.
I do always encourage our own management to get coaching if they can. So we also pay for that.
Yeah.
But I still haven't really found a really great coach or something yet.
And if you talk to let's say one of your mentors then, or somebody that inspires you, what are normally the topics that you are asking advice, or maybe just a mirroring on? Yeah. Is it about the business, or is it about scaling the team, or is it about investments, or is it very broad, or?
All of the above. No, it's sometimes about maybe disagreements in the team, right? It's about how do you manage that. Sometimes it's about, okay, we're looking for a senior VP sales, right? So can you give me some tips where to look for or what not to look for? Sometimes about strategy. Sometimes about, so we have an internal ambition to do an IPO in 2025 for $1 billion. So how are we going to achieve that? So it's very differentiated, but I really try to have one topic. So whatever bothers me at that time is the topic. Because if I put another topic, let's say product vision, and I'm not doing that at the time, then it becomes a useless meeting.
Correct. Hey, last question, which is related to what during Startupbootcamp we call pre-mediation. Yeah. Which is I think a super important topic, which is related to keeping the founders aligned on their business goals, communication together, but maybe also how you are dealing with work-life balance, private situations. Yeah. I know that you did this during Startupbootcamp, and I know also that you continue to do this after the program, the three of you. Can you explain a little bit what the concept of the pre-mediation is and how you've been doing it yourself without the guidance of a mediator or a pre-mediator?
Yeah. So pre-mediation for us is basically, it's mediation before it's necessary. So it basically also became part of our no bullshit culture to tell what bothers us, right? So me, boss, and Sabi, we go out for a dinner once per month, not right now. So last time we did it at Sabi's home. Was also nice, but once a month, and then we really tell what frustrates us, right? So we try to prepare a little bit in front. One talks, the others two listen. That's what we do. So for example, I talk, and I would think more about Sabi, saying, "Hey Sabi, this and this bothered me," and then we try to get rid of the frustration, because there are many things if you work really intensely together that secretly frustrate you, and if you don't take time to talk about that, the small things will get really annoying and they'll get like this. And sometimes you get an explosion of, well, that's not necessary. Yeah. So that's how we use it currently.
And you don't use any third party at this moment to guide you there. You're basically smart enough to do this together, and you feel secure enough to address every topic, although it might be very personal, right? Because I think that's the issue, is that in the heat of the business, you forget, you get frustrated and you forget really to talk about it, and you say, I don't want to get
talk about it next time.
Right, we do it next week, and then you said, no, not a good moment. It's never a good moment, right? Yeah. To really address these serious topics.
Yeah.
But you have fixed momentums during the year that you basically sit down together and openly discuss them.
Yeah, and I think that's super important. And I think even look, now we are with the three founders, right? We used to be like the only real management, but now it becomes bigger because now I have 7 or 8 people senior management team, right? I try to do it with
them as well, because the trust obviously between the three founders is very strong, because you go back. So, but if you just brought me on board, 6 months ago, and suddenly I have to have a pre-mediation session with you, I'm probably thinking something is wrong if Rob wants to talk to me, right? So how do you deal with that then? Do you take this broader now?
Yeah, we are thinking about it. We did this in the past, in when we were a little bit smaller, so with also different managers. Yeah. And we didn't do it for a while already. So what we do is with the management, we go and we go 2 times per year, we go on a trip, right, to everybody, and then we talk about these kind of things.
Yeah, okay.
It's also a totally different situation. For example, we went to Sevilla or something like that, have some nice food, a few drinks on the bar or whatever. That usually.
No, I agree. You shouldn't have these conversations at the office, because then it's business, right? And this is more, in a relaxed environment where people are able to open up a bit more.
Yeah.
And Rob, do you have 2 more minutes for some questions from the audience? Because I'm getting quite a few questions in there. There's a question related to how do you balance the hiring versus outsourcing? Do you outsource? Do you, for example, your tech, or is everything in-house?
Core tech, never. I would never outsource it. Look, you're a tech company. Don't outsource your tech. I know it's hard to find developers, but I would never outsource it. Some things which are very repeatable, or where there's really specialized experience, let's say, just an example, a Magento plugin. Magento is an e-commerce platform. It needs a plugin to connect with Sendcloud. And we don't have any Magento developers.
Right.
Not that it's the case, but then we would outsource that.
Yeah.
And we would have strict specifications how things would work. So things you can reproduce, like you can outsource, but for the rest, please hire. And same goes with the recruiter, right? You can pay a recruiter a 25% fee on somebody's annual salary. But then if you hire 4 people through that recruiter, you could have had your own recruiter.
Correct.
Who actually hires 4 people per month instead of per year, and and saves you a lot of time as well on the entire process.
Correct. Does Sendcloud also hire non-AU candidates?
Yeah, we have a knowledge migrant thing. We already did that when we were 20 people.
Yeah. Okay, so you basically help them to sign up for all the knowledge migrant application forms that are needed. Yeah,
so we arrange everything with the IND, also housing, right? There's a package for that, so we help them move. So we have quite some experts. I think we have 32, 33 different nationalities in our company currently. So,
wow. Okay. Yeah. And if you hire for sales, do the sales people always have an incentive structure on top? And do you really believe in having an incentive structure, and why?
So
because I do have sometimes people that say people run anyhow. They work hard enough. You know, I actually don't feel happy if you would give me an incentive, because I would actually feel that it is sort of like an insultment that I'm not, you know, that I would run harder if I would get an incentive. How do you look at that?
So we didn't do it until we were, I think, 60, 70 people. We said we had the same what you're saying right now, right? Like, these people work hard enough for us. They don't need an incentive.
Yeah.
But then you're still very tight with your team, right? So if you're a good leader or something, people really like to work for you. At least that's my experience. So then they do it for you because you're good. But if you want to build a scalable sales machine and you want to have the best salespeople, they only will be here if you have commissions, if you have good salaries. Look, they can also go to Salesforce, or they can also go to, HubSpot or Zendesk. They make 100K. So you need, at least we do that right now, right? We have a very good base salary structure and very nice incentives. So yeah, I would recommend it if you want to build a sales machine.
Right.
If you're small, if you're 20, 30 people, yeah, you can do it. But I mean, it's not necessary, at least what I experienced.
Yeah. And do you also incentivize maybe the more senior team or even the junior team with option schemes? Do you have like an ESOP, an employee stock option plan, or?
Yeah, we did that until I think until we were 50 people. Everybody got a stock. Everybody got stocks. Stock appreciation rights, a SAR.
Yeah.
So that was good. But then and yet, like we saw in the Netherlands, that people don't really appreciate it. Maybe now they do, right? Because the company grew tenfold since then, and they're like, oh man, it could be worth something.
Yeah.
But back then it was like, yeah, I'd rather have more salary.
Right.
Yeah.
Depends a bit on the stage of the company and what your ambitions are, right? If you want to do IPO, then it might be very interesting to have some stock, you know, at least some, an option scheme.
But if you, of course, are 20 people, right? At least we didn't think about an IPO back then. We just thought, oh, let's get to the next round, or let's try to grow the company. It's nice. At least but I would recommend to give the leaders, of course, stocks, right? So we still do that. So if you reach a head of position or a team lead position, you get a share package here.
Yeah. Okay, last topic then on the IPO. You mentioned 2025, we want to do IPO.
Yeah.
Why? Is that a goal by itself? Is that just something that you always dreamt of when you were 12, or how do you? What is the drive behind that?
To be honest, right? It's because it's really cool to start something from scratch, and an IPO is basically the most ideal scenario. If you start a company from scratch, you build it until it's 1,000 people. It's an IPO, and then it's an independent company. If you go for an exit, then. Yeah, who we're going to exit to? Maybe we're going to exit to some lame company, right? And all the people who are here and built the stuff, they wouldn't be happy. So I'd rather build a really strong independent company, and that's cool, right? And maybe when we do the IPO, I'll be there for a year, maybe 2, maybe I won't. I don't know, right? Maybe I won't be the CEO, but at least we made a company that made it through IPO, which is really cool.
But the goal would not be, I mean, many companies IPO because they want to raise so much money so they can start acquiring additional companies, right? And scale up internationally further. Is that also part of the vision to eventually go do M&A?
Yeah, but that's already,
that's already the case now, but
that's already the case now, which we're going to do. But I mean, with an IPO, of course, you can, if you have stocks which are valued, right? Let's say you're a €1 billion company, you're on the stock exchange. Everybody knows what your worth is. So if then you can say, hey, I want to buy competitor X, that makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. Great. Well, let's talk again then. Let's not wait until 2025. We'll talk for sure earlier than that. I know that it's quite dynamic times and the company is doing well and you're growing quite rapidly, riding also the wave of e-commerce. So I think that the choice that you made back in 2012, not to continue with your own online store, but to move into this domain was very smart. I'm extremely proud to see that you guys as co-founders have been able to build, the three of you, which were in those days relatively young, right? In your early 20s. I know you're much older now, but those were the days that we started working together. And it's now a really serious company and one of the, I would say, one of the diamonds in the rough for the next few years in Europe and probably beyond. So thanks for sharing all your experiences. And, you can always reach out to me if there's anything that you want to brainstorm on shortly. And say hello to your buddies, to Sabi and Rob, and we'll be in touch soon. But thanks for sharing.
Thanks. Hey, bye. Thanks everybody for listening. Hey.
Great.
Yo, bye-bye.